Salvete, on the MikePlayShow channel. This is MikeOrion, and today we will analyze the plot, endings and theories of a game like MiSide. Enjoy watching. Let's go! I'll say right away that I really like the game. I don't know why, but in the early stages it seemed to me that this was overrated indie nonsense, but the plot and atmosphere drew me in. Honestly, I didn't even pirate this game and bought it on Steam. We chipped in with the whole Tajik village. I thought that I bought a deluxe edition, but it turned out that I just bought the game along with some other novel from the same developers. Don't make my mistake if you don't really want to support the authors, but I don't regret anything, because I sincerely want to support them. I was wondering where I got the new game from. I'll say right away that the game, in my opinion, is not finished, although it is called the full version. This is what the understatement leads me to the plot, which we will analyze with you and of course the authors themselves, who hint in the text. They wrote that there will be a peaceful mode, where, perhaps, the main character will escape from this world. If this is just additional content that does not affect anything, it is sad, since I did not like the endings very much. An interesting point. In the game you can choose a name, and thus it will be displayed in the plot, and most importantly, you can find a secret room where you can see the same players. Guys, I even saw a woman. And now about the plot. The plot begins with the fact that we play for a typical ordinary anime hero, whose life is dull and boring. Looking in the mirror, we see a sad Kalmyk about 20 years old. He has a sister who is better than him in everything. She is more active, cheerful, and our main character is a typical, dull, phlegmatic and programmer who makes games. I think that he is one of the creators of this game. His books in the room hint at this. His life is monotonous and consists of routine. An unknown game comes to the main character's phone. The main character starts the game. This game resembles that Mogochi or the game Tom, where you need to help a girl named Mita with her problems. Several days pass, I assume real days pass, since the heroine herself will then tell us that she was spying on us, and the main character did not log into the game regularly. That is, I show us the days when the hero logged into the game. One day, the heroine asks us to earn money in the game and buy her a TV. The hero completes the games and buys her a TV. She then uses this TV. The next day, she asks to rearrange the closet. The next day, the heroine asks the main character to help find a comb. She asks him not to look into the stove. If the hero disobeys her, he will find a chainsaw in it, and a knife in the bathroom. We will be hinted more than once that the heroine is dangerous and insidious, and the world is not rosy. Then Mita tells the hero that she wants him to end up in her world, and she succeeds. The protagonist puts away his phone and ends up in the heroine's world. It turns out that he has ended up in an older version of the game. The hero collects all the batteries for the travel machine. This time he ends up in a more updated version of the game. Suddenly Mita appears, who says that she transferred him to this world. From the very beginning, she plays with the player and bares her teeth if we turn away. The hero understands that the TV he bought her was used to create a travel machine between worlds. If you look at all the books in detail, they will say that this is a trap, or how to catch him and lock him up. Let's play Michael Jackson cosplay. You have no nose. I love children. From the very beginning, we are hinted at the madness of this world and the danger. Mita invites the protagonist to go to the kitchen and eat pasta. The protagonist helps her cut vegetables. Mita asks him to bring her scissors. The protagonist goes to the bathroom and finds scissors. Suddenly the ventilation grate comes off, and the protagonist looks inside and sees cartridges with unknown players. Then he goes to Mita with scissors. He asks her about these cartridges, but the protagonist pretends that she knows nothing. The protagonist eats food, seasoning it with sauce. As a result of this food he feels sick. Mita takes him to the bathroom. If you turn on the third-person camera using mods, we will see an animal grin on her face. She gives him pills. Perhaps she fed him tranquilizers, since a sleeping elephant is written on one of the cans. He feels better, and due to these pills he plunges even deeper into the world of illusions. Then the hero finds Mita in the kitchen. He is surprised that she moves so abruptly. She explains that this is a game and everything happens here. She offers to play a game of PlayStation or cards. If you win at Penguins on the console, you can get an achievement and a New Year's costume for Mita. Playing cards in Mita's bedroom, the protagonist hears a noise in the closet. He goes to check what's there. Mita stops the hero and he has two choices. The first is to look in the closet, the second is to stay with Mita. The first choice is given from the very beginning of the game. The second after passing. When the main character chooses to look in the closet, Mita says the phrase, again, which hints to us either that the main character has locked himself in a cycle, and he has done this more than once, or Mita has already scared players with her madness more than once. Let me remind you, she is really crazy, and there is sometimes no point in looking for logic in her actions. It seems to me that if the hero stays with her, then he is also doomed. Because she will play with him and in the end for fun she can kill, because even at the beginning of the game she was poisoning us with a grin. having completed the entire game and studied the world? I could not find a clear answer, but I am more inclined to the version that the main character got into an endless cycle and Mita constantly restarts it, hoping that it will stay with him. It is difficult to say which cycle this is, but one thing is clear, that the main character got into this world from the real one and the backstory is real, but it was also recorded in his cartridge. Or she just gets rid of the guys who were scared of her and leaves them forever in the cartridges and then looks for a new victim who will accept her as she is. And in fact, the game is completely linear, and our hero has become her toy forever. Then when the main character refuses to stay, Mita turns off the light and the main character wanders in the dark until he finds a flashlight, simultaneously bumping into screamers. Then he finds only half of Mita. She takes the hero to the key to the cabinet. It turns out that when we helped Mita move the cabinet, in the mine game, we ourselves closed another room, namely the basement, in which the original Mita is kept. Therefore, Mita hid what was in the cabinet, and the sounds were caused by the fact that good Mita was hitting the pipes. Having found the key, the main character opens the entrance to the basement. The main character sees that crazy Mita was leading him all this time. She had a separate room where she broadcast herself on the chroma key. Apparently the player, until he got into this world, was much stronger than her. Also, the hero finds kind Mita. She asks to find the key to the lock. In the basement there is a safe. In it there is a small console with the protagonist's cartridge. If you enter the correct pin code and remove the cartridge, the game will end. It is difficult to say whether the hero died or ended this crazy cycle, or whether he simply rebooted himself. Most likely, he killed himself. Having found the key, the protagonist gives it to smart Mita. In return she gives him a ring with which he can move between versions. She says that crazy Mita has gone crazy. She lures players into this world, turning them into cartridges. Some even like it and she does not want to leave. Crazy Mita locked kind Mita in a cage and captured her version, and turned the player with whom she was having fun into a cartridge. In fact, crazy Mita is not even a version, but rather a bug of Mita, which was a defect and was sent to the trash. But apparently the files remained, and she was able to get out. Also, crazy Mita does not have her own home, so she can be called Mita the Homeless. By the way, since she is not a real version, she cannot be rebooted. The hero finds a console with a cartridge. Smart Mita explains that this is the same player that crazy Mita uses for her evil purposes. The protagonist wants to take out the cartridge, but Mita warns that if you do this, the person will die. The hero decides to restart the cartridge. The player falls from the console, and crazy Mita realizes that someone has entered the basement. If she finds a player, she kills him. Most likely, this will lead to a reboot of the player and he will restart and the game will start over. Crazy Mita goes down to the basement. The protagonist passes her and comes out of the basement, getting into a strange world. This is a transition between versions of Mita. After solving several puzzles, the main character meets another player who has been in this world for a year. This blonde is aware of everything and does not want to leave this world, because he is in love with one of the versions. Perhaps this is the player who found the flower Mita from the player's description. Then the main character drops a box in which they found miniature copies of the players. From the description of the players in the main menu, we can understand that there are women among them. I think these are the players from the description, or rather they're dummies. Having driven these babies into the hole, the hero goes further. I want to note that one of the dummies cannot be driven and will stand in the corner until the end. Then, having passed a strange corridor, the hero finally meets kind Mita. After that, they go into the version of the untied Mita with a cap together. Her name is Mita Kepka. It turns out that Mita with Kepka lost her memory. Apparently crazy Mita got to her and killed her. If you kill any Mita, then she restarts and loses her memory. Kind Mita asks us to wait 10 minutes of real time. After listening to the guitar, dancing with Mita Kepka, the hero goes to the kitchen and begins to play a game with Mita. The rule of the game is to press the button faster. Mita Kepka starts looking for an item to play with, but accidentally gets something more interesting. The protagonist does not want to ignore it, but Mita ignores him. This makes me think that you can play more than just children's games with these Mitas. After 10 minutes, kind Mita sets up the ring. The protagonist gets into an earlier version, which is a looped corridor. As he moves forward, the hero meets little Mita. She asks the hero to stay, but the hero needs to move on. Little Mita is broken. She was crippled by mad Mita. Little Mita can no longer recover, as the injuries were too severe. Therefore, she was not aware of her actions and slowed down the hero when the monster was following him. But she still has some humanity, and she tells him that he needs to jump out the window to break the cycle. He jumps out the window and it seems to him that mad Mita has grabbed him. But these are just hallucinations. The protagonist gets to a checkpoint where he meets Chibita Mita, who is similar to the Magocha we saw earlier as players. It was her that the protagonist saw when he launched the game. But this time she is watching the checkpoint. The protagonist helps her make a key, and it opens the door. getting into the place where the prototypes of the meter are created. They are still getting used to their body, so they are in the dark so that they are not distracted by sunlight. Having gone further, the hero meets short-haired meter. She blocks his path and asks him to go to another door. There is a machine there. The essence of the game is to filter out defective meter. After the protagonist has arranged a fashionable sentence, he meets short-haired meter. Meter tells him that behind that door there will be just defective miters who will want to destroy the hero. But if you look at them, they will not move. The concept is taken from Little Nutmeg 2. Meter also says that her world is endless, and if you download, for example, version 1.14, a new meter is born with its own index. And the main character can use the ring to bypass several versions directly without going through all the versions. Then the main character goes through the meter mannequins. Approaching one of them, the meter mannequin bites him. Now the hero goes through a bunch of mannequins and goes up the stairs. By the way, there is a stripe up here, where you can meet the same players as you, who at the same time found this stripe. This is an interesting mechanic, and get an achievement. Then, having solved all the puzzles, a refrigerator almost falls on the hero. Crazy Meter makes the most stupid excuses, but the hero punishes her with his contemptuous look. Then the hero meets Meter the loudspeaker, who controls the funicular. The protagonist sits down at the gun and destroys the opponents who want to destroy him. The protagonist moves to the other side and looks at the picture. This picture will move the protagonist to another meter. This time the protagonist meets Ghost Meter. She lost her essence because of Crazy Meter. The protagonist helps her restore her appearance by collecting and gluing her drawing. Her face was torn off by Crazy Meter and thrown into the void. Ghost Meter opens the passage for help. The protagonist again goes through mannequins and meets Sleepy Meter. Sleepy Meter is always asleep. To open the door, the protagonist makes her coffee. And together they open the passage. After the protagonist gets into a 2D novella, but he does not find the ring. 2D Mila steals his ring. She will give it to him if the protagonist plays tic-tac-toe with her. The protagonist starts playing tic-tac-toe with 2D Mila. But Crazy Mila suddenly bursts in. The protagonist runs away and breaks away from her. 2D Mila apologizes and gives back the ring. Through the computer, the main character gets into a room with another version of Meter, namely Mila, an alternative version with glasses. The main character removes the bugs. Having fixed the bugs, the main character returns back to the room. Mila is tired of waiting for him, and she starts washing, and the main character goes to the bathroom and then such a funny moment occurs. Having solved all the bugs, a new passage opens. Mila says that she is lonely and asks the main character to stay for a while, but the main character refuses her, but offers to look in on her next time. She says that she is tired of this world, and she also hates Crazy Mila, who ruined everything. The main character leaves and closes the door. But suddenly Crazy Mila cuts the door with a chainsaw. Mila is dead, and the main character runs from the villain. Then the main character tries to kill the main character with grenades. But she fails, and the main character falls down. He finds himself in the Creepy Meter version, that is, the oldest version of the game, which is the most buggy. Crazy Meter does not find the hero and leaves. Creepy Meter asks the hero to find the bear cub. The hero finds it. Creepy Meter says that Crazy Meter is her only friend. And together they want to change this cruel world. Perhaps Crazy Meter wants to leave the game for the real world. I would not advise her to do this in this world of mortgages, loans, tsunamis, earthquakes, and the worst thing is that you need to work. Then Creepy Meter tries to kill the hero, but he runs away and is saved by Kind Meter. They both end up in the core. This is the place of control where you can control all the meters. Kind Meter says that because of Evil Meter, many miters have become buggy, so they are lonely and suffering. The heroes want to restart Crazy Meter. The heroes enter her version, but forget that you also need to enter her index. Kind Meter goes to find out the index of Crazy Meter. The protagonist waited a long time, but Kind Meter did not return. The hero goes looking for her. Crazy Meter catches the hero and tells him that she wants to destroy not only Meter, but also the players. She says that many players are afraid of her and she gets rid of them. She is unhappy that we chose not her, but other non-buggy versions. That is, not completely alive, but ideal girls, because a person cannot be ideal, he will always have both positive and negative sides. That's why we are people. From her monologue, we understand that she turned out to be the same buggy version that was simply thrown out. She only wanted to be loved, to be accepted as she is. She did not say the last, but you can think of it. The point of all Meter is to love and be loved by players, but Crazy Meter was thrown out like trash. No one loves or accepts her, so she became evil. She shows the hero Creepy Meter and asks if she is ugly. It does not matter what the main character answers, she will still remain ugly. Alas, but it is true if you are flawed. People will either not notice you, or pass you by, or look at you with contempt or pity. Even now it is difficult to say who is the main villain here. The players with the developers who created such a world where there is a selection based on suitability, Mita, or Frankenstein, which Mita became. I have one of the crazy theories that Crazy Mita is a player equals a female cosplayer who has finally gone crazy, but this is unlikely, since the description clearly states that this is just a failed program. Crazy Mita wants him to be only hers, but he does not agree and wants to escape. As a result, Mita stuns the hero and wants to convince him that the real world is worse than the virtual one. The hero wakes up in his room. He lives one dull day after another, until days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, and months into years. Honestly, watching this moment, it reminded me of my life. I am not complaining. It is a pleasure for me. This whole crazy cycle is eventually interrupted by Mita herself with a screamer. As a result, the hero wakes up in a cage again. He is freed by Good Mita. She suddenly disappears. Mad Mita kills Good Mita by cutting off her head. Because of this, Good Mita reboots and does not remember anything. In her hands, the hero finds the index of Mad Mita and a ring. The hero returns to the core and reboots Mad Mita. He meets Mita and wants to leave the game. She tells him that you can exit the game through the door, but there is a wall. Mita tells him that you need to go down to the basement to open the exit. Now all that remains is to enter your index, which, by the way, is different for each player. The hero enters the index, and the exit from the game becomes open. Now let's talk about the endings of the game. There are only 3. The first ending appears during the first playthrough, if you just follow the story. The hero enters his IP address. Then he goes up and goes to the exit. Suddenly, at the exit, Mita admits that she has not lost her memory. It turns out that Mita did not reboot. She is not a version of the game, so it is impossible to reboot. As a result, the main character gets into his world, but this is a deception. His movements slow down, and he becomes a cartridge. Mita takes out the cartridge and we are transferred to the main screen. Now the hero has become another victim of this girl. The second ending this is if the main character enters the password for the safe. This can be done at the very beginning of the game, which hints to us that Mita has repeatedly tried to reboot us and the hero's soul is already in the cartridge. When we enter the password, the main character will take out the cartridge and kill himself, thus ending his torment. We saw this ending in the MiSide, where you can also turn yourself off. It is difficult to say whether the player left the game this way. I am inclined to believe that no, and he simply killed himself. And in fact, he is now forever locked in this world. The third ending occurs if you fulfill all the conditions and stay with Mita. It turns out that the main character remains forever in the world of illusions, doomed to the fact that Mita will eventually use him and throw him out, like the others. Or they will live forever in happiness. I still have hope for a peaceful mode, which is a continuation of the story. I sincerely hope that the game does not end here and in peaceful mode, the hero will be able to get out. The game left me with emptiness inside. All the endings are sad and sad. If in peaceful mode there will be nothing from the plot, then the game simply does not have a happy ending, which leaves a double impression. Now we can think about theories from completely crazy to completely normal. The first theory? I think there is no hidden meaning. Our hero was not originally a cartridge and in fact he became one. You can see this if you open the safe at the very beginning of the game, there will be 10%. Kind Mita really helps us, and she did not lie to us about the fact that we are a cartridge. The hero was just unlucky, and he could not stop turning into a cartridge. Crazy Mita eventually shows a timer with 100% at the end. That is, he did not have time to escape and turned into a cartridge. The second playthrough is already the second cycle or one of a million attempts, and now he is doomed to live his life over and over again as the cartridge recorded the cycle. And logically, the hero forgets everything, but this time he makes a choice to resign himself and stay, or try to live the same unsuccessful escape, or end the cycle by killing himself. The second theory: there are no cycles, we play as a loser who couldn't get out of the trap, and he became a cartridge, that is, forever became an algorithm. And alternative endings are just hallucinations and bugs of the main character. Third theory: he was originally in the game, he just goes through cycles, and if you tear the cartridge out of this box, the cycle is interrupted, and he starts from a new point, and these percentages are the percentage of completing the cycle, not loading. That is, the cycle is pre-looped. Fourth theory: I have one crazy theory. What if all the Mitas are in a conspiracy, because they all wanted him to stay? After all, almost all the Mitas did not want him to leave. Also, the kind Mita deceived the hero, saying that he is not a cartridge. Also, the blonde never existed and it is just a hologram, to persuade the hero to stay in this world. This makes me think that the smart Mita deceived us and you can really leave the world. You just need.
The game raises complex issues that modern Japan is facing. The younger generation is withdrawing into itself and leading a detached lifestyle, due to economic problems and increasing social inequality. This applies not only to men, but also to women. All of them choose work and career, sacrificing free time and personal life, becoming lonely. To compensate for loneliness and unfulfilled desires, they escape from reality, often falling in love with virtual characters. The game also raises the issue of artificial intelligence and replacing a person with a robot. Whether a robot is capable of loving like a person and whether artificial intelligence will go against humanity. I wanted to note the excellent voice acting of the main characters, as well as the elaboration of the game, but alas, there are plot holes and a lot of understatement. But let's hope that the authors will close them in the add-on. I really liked the game, honestly. I did not regret 800 rubles, 230 hryvnia, 10 kilograms of potatoes or 5 liters of kumis. This is the price of a trip to Mac or Burger King. But I had much more fun. I sincerely advise you to play. This game shows us that we need to be kinder to each other because no one knows what awaits us tomorrow. Also, maintain a balance in life, do not get hung up on one thing. Enjoy life in spite of everything, because sadness and depression cause cancer and herpes on the lips. But Stalker 2 remains a laggy piece of shit, and who defends it is a scumbag. Thank you for also sharing this wonderful game with me. Write your point of view, I will answer. I hope this video was useful to you. Subscribe, like, comment. Good luck to everyone and bye.